Okay, guys. So in this channel, we will focus about the NCERT reading. So when you are not feeling like studying or solving numericals, or just genuinely don't feel like reading anything, you can just listen to me because each and every line of NCERT is very important. So if we read it and you can listen to this passively, and it will be just stored in the back of your mind. Okay. So let's start with the first chapter. The scientist name and this whole thing is not important at all, has never come in exam. Let's dig into the first chapter. So, in the first chapter, which is the living world, we are starting with biology. How amazing or how wonderful is the living world? The wide range of living types is amazing. The extraordinary habitats in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forest, ocean, freshwater lakes, desert, or hot springs, leave us speechless. The beauty of galloping horses, of migrating birds, valley of flowers, or the attacking shark evolves awe and deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of population and among populations of a community or even the molecular traffic inside a cell makes us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions within it. Okay, so here the author is asking that what is indeed is life, and there are two answers, like two different approaches. The first is a technical one and seeks answer to what living is as opposed to non-living. So the first one is a scientific. So this distinguish between a living and non-living things, which we have been studying since class one. Okay, the next one, and the second is a physiological one, or sorry, philosophical one, and seeks answer to what the purpose of life is. But since we are studying science, so as scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living scientifically and biologically. So the first um, topic is the diversity in the living world. From here, this starts the important points. Okay, if you look around you, will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plants, insects, birds, or pets, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observations in, the range and variety of organisms that you see would increase, obviously. If you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kinds of plant, animal, and organism that you see represents a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. So this is the first important point. The number of species is 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity, or the number and types of organism present on earth. So this is biodiversity. Okay, we should remember that we should remember here that as we explore new areas or even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we do not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organism as we are talking about. Hence, there is need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This is known as nomenclature. So, what does nomenclature means? It means that a particular species is known by the same name all around the world. That is exactly what nomenclature is. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know what organism name is attached to. This is known as identification. Okay, so get this in your mind that identification will be possible only if we describe the organism. So we describe that a particular organism has this characteristic, and then we will name it according to those characteristics. So that is known as identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principle and criteria, which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature (ICBN). So the full form of ICBN is International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. You may ask, how are animals named? Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature (ICZN). Again, many questions have come from these full forms. The scientific names ensures that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same time, at the same name. They also ensure that a name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components. Okay, so this is important point which I'm going to read now. Each name has two components: the generic name and the specific epithet. The this system of providing a name with two components is known as binomial nomenclature. Binomial means two, so this name consists of two parts, the generic name and specific epithet. This naming system, given by Carlos Linnaeus, is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system, using a two-word format, was found convenient. Let us take example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Magnifera indica, and the first letter is capital. Okay, so we'll get to know this. So Magnifera indica. Let us see how is it a binomial name. In this name, Magnifera represents the genus, while Indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. Number one, biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are in Latin language and they are written in italics. They're Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Number two, the first word in the biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Both the words in the biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. So, this word to indicate their Latin origin, this is important. Okay. So, the question could be like, why are the names handwritten? When handwritten, they are underlined separately, or why they are printed in italics? The answer is because of the Latin origin. I mean, obviously, there will be several options, and you will have to guess what is the right one. So, to indicate the Latin origin is the answer. Next, number four. The first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example Magnifera indica. So, in a binomial name, only the first word, only the first letter is capital and all the rest of the letters will be small. The name of the author appears in the specific epithet that is at the end of the biological name and it is written in an abbreviated form. Example Magnifera indica Linn. It indicates this species was first described by Linnaeus. So Magnifera indica was first described by Linnaeus. So mango actually. Since it is nearly impossible to study all living organism, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is known as classification. So we classify. Classify means we divide the organism in classes. So suppose a particular, so in the school we have different classes, right? In a particular class, the students are studying the same syllabus, right? So in this way, we will classify the different organisms. Okay, classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characteristic. The important point is easily observable characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals, or dogs, cats, or insects. The moment we use these terms, we associate certain characteristic with the organism of that group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dog and not cats. Now, if we think of the Alsatians, we know that we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of an animal with external ears and body hair. Likewise, in plants, when we talk about wheat, the picture that comes in our mind will not will be of wheat plant, not of rice or other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, rice, wheat, plants, animal are the convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific term for these categories is taxa. So, so in a school we say class, right? But here we say taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different level. Plants is also a taxa, wheat also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animal, mammal, dogs are taxa at different levels. So each category, basically animal, then dog, then maybe so for example German Shepherd, all of these are different taxa. Okay, so anything can be a taxa. Okay. Hence, based on characteristic, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process is known as taxonomy. So the process of classification is taxonomy, but the class is actually taxa. External internal external and internal structure, along with the structure of the cell, developmental process, ecological information of organism are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, classification, identification, sorry, let's start from the beginning. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the processes that are basic to taxonomy. So you have to learn this in order, okay? First is characterization. We will characterize the animals, like what characters are present in a particular organism. Then we identify that, oh yeah, so this maybe this is a insect, maybe this is a mammal, okay? Then what we do is we will do the classification, then we will send it to a particular class. For example, if you're talking about dog, we will say that it belongs to the class mammal, and there are other classes also, obviously. And then we assign the name, that's just the nomenclature. So all of this belongs under the process of taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Humans have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organism, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings need to find sources for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of organism. Remember, the earliest classification based on uses of organism. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organism and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. So, what is systematics? Different kinds of organism and diversities, and also the relationship between them. So, relationship between different organisms. The word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systemic arrangement of organism. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as a title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Oh, okay. So in this, these three are there. And remember that here the characterization word is not here, okay, in systematics. Systematics takes into account evolutionary relationships between organisms. So what do we learn under systematics? Identification, nomenclature, classification, and in addition, we have evolutionary relationships. This is the important point. So this is the end of the first topic, and we will continue with the next topic in the another video.